everybody. Welcome to DNS Live. We've actually got a show tonight instead of going through investigation techniques. So I hope you guys enjoyed the couple of weeks that we did that. I hope you've checked out the show archives, gone back, taken some notes, taken a look at the NPS website, taken a peek at some of the stuff that's there, hopped over to the DNS website, taken a peek at the documents that are there as well. I'm actually wrapping up this week a lot of documents we're going to be kind of throwing up on the NPS website when Endeavor launches, so you guys will see a lot of stuff. We had talked about last week going over EMF because not a lot of people understand what EMF is. So I thought rather than going straight into investigations, I know you guys, it sucks, doesn't it? You don't get to see us do anything yet. I thought instead of going into the investigations, we'd spend tonight talking about EMF. I've got Shannon on with me, who is my alternate assistant director from NPS. And we're going to talk about EMF, but, you know, guys, if you think about something else that we need to cover that may come up during an investigation that you don't understand, we didn't clarify on, or it's just something general, let me know. We can kind of address it on the show. I was thinking about even having somebody on that is a Reiki master, and Shannon, you'll love this, to talk to us about crystals and healing as well, since I'm kind of gotten into it. And having my crystals with me when I investigate, and I know there's a lot of other investigators that believe in them too, so I thought maybe we would take a show and talk about that as well. So I'm very, very open. Yes, you know what, we could spend a month talking about ethics, but I think it's important for us to talk about these topics as we're investigating and understand them. We didn't get to touch on a whole lot when we were going through the process because we were focused on the actual process. So we can spend time now on the reverse and talk about it. And then if there's things like, if we talk about EMF tonight, there might be an investigation that we go on soon that I kind of show you some stuff that we talk about. So not only are you hearing about it and learning about it, but you're seeing it as well. So if that helps you guys, I'm more than happy to do that too. So Shannon, do you want to kind of kick off and tell everybody what we all should know, but kind of what EMF is? We'll kind of dumb it down a little bit tonight.
Well, no, I was going to let you do that part because I was going to talk about the bad part.
You know, I told Shannon, you know, I know what it is, and I can pretty well verse myself over it, but I don't understand it as it applies to the real world, if that makes sense. So I kind of had to do some studying on it today of how it applied to the real world. And so I did, and you guys know me in my research, I did just a little bit of printing out from one website. And guys, if you didn't remember me telling you about this website, right here, this is where you need to be. This is probably the best website for anything because it's in the UK. And I swear the people in the UK kind of give a shit more than we do over here in the US about research and the paranormal. So with that said, let's talk about EMF. You know what, I meant to bring my millimeter up here to show it, so we'd have some examples of stuff.
I'll go get mine.
Let's see, you may have yours close by. Is your video frozen? Is that what you're...
Yeah.
It'll probably be that way. It's
like really funny, too.
It's live TV. That's what we deal with. It's probably Skype. It'll kick in here in a little bit. You'll probably see it coming up. What I pulled from the Association for Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena, which is ASSAP.ac.uk for you guys that want to look it up on the internet. They have an actual article there that you guys should look up. I printed it to have it, called Ghost Baselines and EMF Meters. And it actually goes through, it's about 5 pages that I printed out that goes through talking about EMF and ghost and baselines. And then from that, there were hyperlinks to talk about EMF meters. What is an EMF meter? Talks about what they measure, because it's real. Anybody can buy a millimeter, and anybody can buy the fancy one like Zach has on Ghost Adventures that goes off and makes sounds and has the bells and whistles. But do you really know what it is and what it does and what it's actually used for? Because, you know, it's kind of used for more than just ghost hunting. And that's kind of the thing we're going to kind of talk about tonight. This article had a link to baselines. There was even something really interesting, and Shannon, I mean, we could probably go talk about this on another show, but it was talking about another 5-page article about what do we really know about ghosts. There's the millimeter. You guys can see the mel. that's kind of one of the tools that we're going to talk about tonight. The other one is the door stop called the K2. It's completely different from a MEL. You either want a MEL or a tri-field is what you want. But there's a lot of great information out there on ASSAP, so you guys check that out. You can do it tonight while we're talking, or you can check it out later or whenever you want. But if you don't get a chance to watch the show in its entirety, or if you just want to look up some more information, they've got plenty of it out there. So EMF, electronic magnetic field. Real easy, EMF. I'm trying to look if there was a definition in this that applies to the paranormal, if they just gave a general one. They just went general on this, saying that the meter detects changing electromagnetic fields. Most models only detect changing magnetic fields, but some can measure varying electric fields too. So let's kind of dive on in, Shannon, and get started on it.
Well, okay. What I wanted to talk about was real world EMF, not so much spirit EMF.
Well, and I want to understand the real world to even understand why do we even talk about it in the spiritual world, you know?
Well, when any investigator goes into a house, you know, after you've done the client interview, after you've got all your forms signed, one of the first things you want to do is get a baseline in that house of what's throwing off EMF. Because we as investigators, most of us believe that the EMF is going to go off if there's a ghost in the house, or trying to talk to us, or trying to touch us, or trying to get our attention. What a lot of people don't realize is how much EMF normal household appliances can throw off, and what that can do to somebody living in that house.
Mm-hmm.
For example, we went to a house last month and started doing its baseline. That house was crazy. They had an old refrigerator that was throwing off.
Hold on, Shannon, we lost your sound. Say something, Shannon. Shannon. Can you still hear me, Sheri?
You?
Shannon?
Talk about ghosts in the machine.
Yeah, that was some bad feedback.
There we go, we got it back.
They don't want us talking about them.
It happens. So they had an old refrigerator.
They actually had more than one. Between their refrigerator, a fish tank, bad wiring in the house. They had one room where the meter box on the outside of the house was bleeding through into one of the kids' bedrooms.
Oh my
God! And it pegged the millimeter out at 200. They also had an old TV. And what people don't realize is, you know, I'm one of those people, I have EMF hypersensitivity. I don't have it as bad as some people, but I do have it. I go down to the state archives and I go in their computer room where they've got the microfilm machines and the printers and the computers. Within 5 minutes, I'm trying not to throw up and I have a migraine. Mm-hmm. So I have to leave. I can go into a convenience store that has multiple microwaves and it doesn't bother me. But somebody else that's got a different level of sensitivity, if you ever go in, you know, to like a Quick Trip or something where they've got a bunch of microwaves going at the same time, you know, you can have anything from nausea to headaches to dizziness. You can actually break out in rashes. You can have heart palpitations. You can get floaters in your eyes. You can start having pain behind your eyes. And people don't realize that that's EMF. We see people posting on NPS all the time. You know, this is going on. You know, when I lay in my bedroom, you know, this stuff is happening. Well, we've been in houses where people's alarm clocks, you know, their digital alarm clocks throw off. You know, you go in, a normal baseline's like 0.2, 0.3.
Yeah.
And you test out that alarm clock, and it's a 6. And, you know, you wonder, you know, they're laying in the bed having all these different things they think is paranormal. They don't understand, you know, it could be their alarm clock. Because they say, when I go out of the bedroom, it stops. So the ghost must be in my bedroom.
Oh.
Well, no, the alarm clock is in your bedroom. We had a person that posted on NPS the other day. He was talking about all these symptoms. I mean, and there's a long list of things that can happen, and it can lead to long-term health problems if you're exposed to this, like the house with the refrigerator and the fish tank. And, you know, that sound's coming back again. And now I can't hear you.
Hold on, Shannon, hold on.
Hold on.
Did you see that message I sent you, Sheri?
Do what?
I sent you a message on Skype.
Let me see. Let me see if I can.
The noise is gone now.
That's so funny. Is that better?
Yeah.
That's so weird because I always leave it like right in the middle. Can you still hear me okay?
Yep.
I can hear you fine.
Is that better?
Yep. Sounds like it. Let's go.
Let's go.
Okay, so we had a person that was posting on NPS, and you know was going through this long list of symptoms, and you know one of the first things I said was, have you had, you know, anybody come in, or if you have a team come in, first thing they need to do is check the baseline EMF at the house, because it sounds to me like you're having hypersensitivity problems. And they're like, no, I have a gift, it's a ghost. And I was like, you know, but you don't understand that long-term exposure is doing something to you. If it's a problem, you need to at least rule it out. Well, as the day went on and the conversation kept going, this person really revealed that they had just been diagnosed with Cushing syndrome. Well, long-term EMF exposure is now being linked to Cushing syndrome and other adrenal tumor type problems. So everything this person had said, and I'd been trying to tell them, please get it checked out, they're already sick. So please, you get a team that comes in your house, you make sure they're doing an EMF sweep. If it turns out that, you know, everything's fine, then good. Then if you've got EMF things going on during your investigation, you can start looking at the paranormal. But when you know, go into a room where you know that the electrical meter on the outside of the house is on the other side of that wall, and that's pegging at 200, you've got a problem, and you don't need to be sleeping in that room.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound soapboxy, but, you know, this is your health you're talking about. It's no different than, you know, when we go into a house and we have to be careful when we go into an attic because there's wasps, or we have to watch when we go in the basement in case there's black mold. You know, EMF sickness is a real thing. And it's not always paranormal, and it will mimic, it can make you hallucinate. You know, it can give you stomach problems. It can make your hair fall out. It can make you dehydrated. It can mess up your sense of smell. So, you know, all these people that think they're smelling sulfur and there's a demon in the house, you know, it could be EMF. And it's a very simple thing to check. I mean, you don't have to have a fancy thing like the millimeter to do an EMF sweep of your own house. You know, you can go pick one up for $50 somewhere just to see what your alarm clock is doing, what your gaming system is doing, we had an investigation in one house where they had a baby, and they had a diaper, a white warmer, and it was 100.
That's a lot.
That child is being exposed to that every day.
Well, and what is, you know, kind of, what is like the normal baseline reading for, I don't know, any given thing, because that's one thing. I had a girlfriend that messaged me on Facebook, and she was like freaking out because they were getting ready to buy a house. They were near power lines. And she's like, Sheri, what's the normal baseline for household stuff? And I said, look it up online, because I don't know that there's a standard. It's supposed to be fill in the blank, because it depends on the model of the fridge, the model of the microwave. You need to go see what that is and then measure it in your home. Well, apparently, for where she was buying her house and when they were getting the financing, they had to be able to cover all of that for their insurance. So she's like, I know this sounds weird, but do you have a millimeter I can borrow? Because she knew I had one. I was like, yeah, if you want to come borrow it in my K2, we're not going to need it for the investigation this weekend. So she came by and she borrowed it. Wasn't for anything paranormal, but it was to check to see what was in the house. And she said she was glad she did, because now they were able to go ahead and get the financing done on the house. Everything was fine. But her concern was, with it being close to power lines, what were they going to be absorbing? She's got 2 kids, both under the age of 4.
And that's what an EMF detector is for. I mean, we've just kind of appropriated it for our own needs.
For us.
You know, to try to prove whether or not spirits interact with us. You know, and you know, you can kind of meld the two things. You know, the one house that we went into that had, you know, the 200 in the one room and the refrigerator and the fish tank, there was a lot of activity in this house. And, you know, it's our belief, you know, because of the way that we believe, the ramped up activity was actually feeding off of all the extra EMF that was in the house. That noise has come back again.
Yeah, I hear it. Weird, because I haven't done anything. I'm getting feedback here. You hearing it?
Yeah.
That's just weird. Let me see if I can adjust my mic again and see if that helps any.
There you go. Say something, Sheri. Okay, now we can't hear you at all. A little higher.
It happened to be where it was earlier when it was causing issues. That's so weird. Is that better?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have to monitor it.
Actually,
you know,
what it is, Sheri, you can't be quiet.
What do you mean I can't be quiet?
Well, other than the natural reason why I would say that, that sound that you guys are hearing is a feedback loop coming from your microphone through your speakers constantly. You have to every now and again make some noise or interrupt Shannon, okay?
Okay, I'll have to remember to do that. It's funny because we've not had this issue for a while, and I've got an all-in-one touchscreen, so I'm going to have to figure out where my mic is to kind of start doing something. But no, while we were sitting here, while you were talking, Shannon, I looked up, there's a website called emfcenter.com, and the very first page here talks about EMF FAQs, and it goes through everything we're talking about. Where does it come from? How does it affect the immune system? How do I know if I'm being exposed? How can I reduce the EMF in my home? How can I do my own testing? When do I need to hire a professional test consultant? So, I mean, these are things that we really need to be looking at when we're talking to clients. I mean, it should be the very first thing that we're knowledgeable about. We don't need to be, you know, experts on it, but we need to know enough about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, you know, especially the symptoms. I mean, you know, yeah, nausea, dizziness, headache, you know, those can be caused by a lot of things. But, you know, again, we're going back to the long-term thing, which, you know, can lead to infertility. They're linking it to sugar metabolism, redistribution of the metals in your own body. I mean, EMF is a serious thing. You know, and a normal house, okay, you're not going to have those issues. But when you get into some of these older houses,
yep,
you know, where the wiring hasn't been done since 1910.
It's been updated.
Yeah. I mean, not only is the homeowner being exposed, but you are as well.
Yeah,
and, you know, we keep going into these houses. You know, we're in and out of all these different kinds of places that have different EMF levels. So it's, you know, you've got to know to protect your own self.
Mm-hmm. And no. It says here that the health concerns can be a variety of problems, including leukemia, lymphoma, brain and nervous system cancers, melanoma, breast cancer, miscarriages, birth defects, Alzheimer's, Lou Gehrig's disease, depression, and suicide. Those latter two are things that we hear about a lot with the paranormal. So, I mean, it's stuff that we need to be looking at. Symptoms such as nausea, headache, fatigue, anxiety, dizziness, mental confusion, memory loss, sleep disturbance, itchy or burning skin sensations, and skin rashes, just like you said. These are all things that we need to have in our paranormal toolbox and printed out for us to review and know about when we're talking to our clients and asking them, you know, kind of what's going on, what are they experiencing. This is something pretty impressive. I mean, you don't think about it. You think you're sitting in your home, everything's fine. It's really not. It talks about affecting the immune system. So, I mean, there's a lot that it can affect, and it's not just something that is real simple. I was looking at, it says, how can I reduce EMFs in my home? Arrange beds, couches, and chairs to stay as far away as possible from obvious EMF sources such as electrical panels, refrigerators, televisions, fluorescent lights, etc. We talked about the alarm clock. It says use a battery-powered alarm clock instead of a plug-in near your bed. And unplug electrical cords near beds, desks, couches, and chairs. Limit your family's use of cell phones and cordless phones as much as possible, especially for children. For your computer, use only wired components, nothing wireless if possible. Well, I'm guilty of that. Everything in my office is wireless. Also avoid using Wi-Fi or at least turn it off at night. And since EMFs can be emitted from so many unseen and unexpected sources, we strongly recommend that you measure with a test meter to determine what the actual exposure levels and sources are. It's the only way to really know.
Well, yeah. I mean, and people don't think about that. And they laugh at us when we try to tell them, you know, this is a real world problem. This is what could be going on in your house. And they're like, no, I know I have a ghost.
So convinced by it. And I think, you know what, if we can go and print out that information with us to refer to, I think it's something that will really cause people to open their eyes, because it seems like, you know, even on NPS when we're talking about pictures and so forth, you know, when they can actually see something and be like, oh, it's been explained, or, oh, somebody's already done that. Or like the whole orb thing. How do I know it's a dust orb? Well, let me post my test picture that I personally did, and now Jason and I have the video. That's how I know that it's dust. I mean, people need to use a little common sense and look at what we're experimenting with. We know what EMF issues are. We have that. What more do you need to know other than acknowledging the fact that you're not having a paranormal experience? And it seems like it's all the older homes.
Well, no. I mean, the house that I was talking about with the room with the 200, that house was built in the early 2000s.
Oh, wow.
So it's not inherent to, I mean, we've been in older houses where there were no issues. The EMF, you know, around on the other side of the walls from the meters and stuff, you know, 0.2, 0.3, 0.6. But when you get into a house that's only 14 years old and it's taken out at 200 just because the electrical meters on the other side of the bedroom wall, that's serious.
That is serious. Well, and the point being made is it's because of all the crappily constructed homes. We're not putting as much into the construction of the homes that we used to, and not everybody really cares. They just want to get the house up, you know what I mean? And we're kind of taking a hit health-wise on it.
You know, we're doing it for a couple of hours, and it can have an effect. Like I say, when I go do research and I can't be in a place for more than 5 minutes, you know, that's pretty bad. But when you're living in it and you get used to it, so you don't notice, and I'm tired all the time, or wow, I'm having nosebleeds, and you know, I don't understand why I'm having this, or you know, you've got, you know, eye issues that, you know, they're linking them to cataracts now. You know, there are so
like you said, you know, if it happens to you at home, but you leave, I mean, that should be kind of an indication a little bit, don't you think?
Well, no, because when you're exposed to it long term, it's going to take, you know, just running out to the grocery store, you're not going to notice that you're not around it anymore.
But what about if somebody's going to work and working for 8 hours? Are they going to be able to notice that?
No, not when they live with it. When you eat and sleep and do everything in your house and you're in it day in and day out, it's the damage that it's doing to you. Leaving for a few hours isn't going to make any difference.
but it would for somebody. If you're an investigator coming in, you're going to probably pick it up before the person living there. That's pretty good to know.
You know, one thing, you know, and I've heard other people say this too. You know, I'm one of those people. I can hear electricity. You know, I can tell when you've, you know, cut a TV on, even if there's no sound. You know, I don't know the hum or the whatever. You know, I can hear that. I can hear power lines. You know, we've got a place we go out to eat. And, you know, every time I get out of the car, that's all I can hear is the power lines.
Oh, wow.
You know, notice if you're one of those kind of people, if you can actually pick up on stuff like that, you may have a hypersensitivity problem.
Well, yeah. Because, I mean, if you're saying that you do, you know you do and you're hearing it, that is kind of a clue. Than others.
Well, it was funny, when we talked about doing this, you know, I was reading a couple of things just to get more stuff in my head. And,
hold on, it's back.
I know, it's like, I'm talking. Let me, it doesn't want to, you know, we're talking about EMF and it doesn't want us to talk about EMF.
Well, the only other option we got, Sheri, is for you to mute your microphone.
Well, let's see what happens if I do that. Hang on, because I've turned it down.
When Shannon's talking, you got to mute.
Okay, try this.
No.
That didn't help at all?
Yeah,
no.
It's gone. It's gone.
Oh, it is now.
Yep. That's weird. We're talking about EMF, folks. Oh, gosh.
Oh.
So anyway, we were talking about, you were researching some stuff.
Oh, yeah, and I came across an article where they were trying to connect EMF hypersensitivity with gifted abilities. And they were trying to do a study on whether or not people, you know, like me that had hypersensitivity, you know, were gifted and, you know, could pick up on spirits when you go into a house like I can and that kind of thing. They were trying to see whether or not the two correlated. And, you know, it's not definitive, but, you know, it was an interesting point brought up and something I was looking at.
Well, it's also kind of interesting because, you know, we talk about we don't know what 100% of our brain is capable of and can do. And so it makes you wonder if there's not a certain part of it that helps contribute to those that are gifted that can see spirits and the mediums and the true psychics out there versus the people that have the sensitivity to it. Is it something that, you know, everything stems from our brain, chemicals and all that type of stuff that are needed by our body? Is it something that could be touched by that, you know?
I thought it was interesting. I mean, you know, given that, you know, I do have certain gifts and that I have the hypersensitivity, but, you know, mine's low level. You know, a lot of things that, you know, affect other people really bad don't bother me. And then, you know, for me, sometimes it's like it's how do I put this? It's not the big stuff. It's like when we were in the room with the electrical meter, you know, I could hear the electricity, but I didn't get sick. I didn't get a headache. I didn't get dizzy. But you let me go into a room with a bunch of copiers and you got to drag me out of there because I'm trying not to throw up. So it's different. Out whatever, you know, they talk about it on the paranormal, you know, when they talk about the pages. That's what that is. You know, you're being surrounded by EMF and it's making you hallucinate and, you know, get paranoid and stuff like that. It's the same thing.
Acting up. I've got mine. I've been muting mine to see if that helps, and it kind of zapped out for a minute there. But yeah, there's a lot to it. And I mean, until you really look at a lot of it and get it in your mind that that's what it is, it's kind of hard to really get your hands around it. You know what I mean? For us just to go and tell a client, hey, it's EMF, they're like, what? And then you're having to sit down and kind of give a science lesson to them of, you know, really what it is and how it affects them, and that, you know, this is that, and here's what can happen, or here's what's been happening type thing.
You know, that's our job as investigators, is to educate the client, because they don't know. They've got no clue. All they know is something freaky happened in the house, and because of, you know, the worldview today, it's cool to have a ghost in your house now. It's not taboo like it used to be. You know, it's your job to go in and educate them on what it could be normally. You know, they don't want to listen. You know, we've had people swear up one and down the other, no, we were wrong. But, you know, at least we tried, and we gave them the tools for them to have. You know, it's our responsibility when we take on a client to educate them on every part of this.
Well, you're doing them a disservice if you're not.
And you know, you don't just walk into a house, you know, with your voice recorder and, you know, just start talking. You know, that's everything you went through in your investigation lead up. You know, you've got to look for the normal first. And this is a big one, because, you know, it may end up, they may find out it's, you know, they're linking it to certain kinds of death. I haven't seen that yet, but certainly plenty of long-term terminal diseases.
Well, if you're talking about cancers, you know, that's the next step.
And, you know, that's nothing to mess with. So, you know, do you want to look back later on and say, oh, I wish I told that client that their refrigerator was kicking off, you know, 175 EMF, and that could be causing, you know, their autoimmune problem that they're having now. You know, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, well, and like Yeti pointed out, worst case, you can help them find faulty wiring, which can lead to fires and shorts.
Exactly.
And there's other stuff. When we go in, we owe it to our clients to do the due diligence and to rule out everything. I mean, you're not being a credible investigator if you're not debunking anything and everything. The door shuts. Okay, well, let's go see if it's kind of off hinge, you know. You're hallucinating. Let's check EMF. I mean, there should be certain triggers that they tell you that you've got a list that you correspond with, that you need to check with it. And you need to show your client that. It's okay to kind of show your cards and show your list and let your client know. Most of them are going to be a little more appreciative that you went above and beyond, other than the one instance that we had today on NPS, where the lady said the team came out, spent 2 hours, and then did a blessing and then left.
After they provoked. After they provoked. They provoked, then did a blessing, and then left.
Yeah, so it's like, do you even do anything for that client, you know?
It's the sense of non-responsibility that I run across scares me.
Well, and we see it all the time on NPS. We have, what now, 37,000 members? And I mean, we're talking about a team that came out, and this lady just happened to find NPS, talk to us. I mean, how many teams out there are watching the TV shows, buying the products, doing what they see on TV, but they don't really understand that the reason why that millimeter is used is to measure EMF. Well, what's EMF? You really need to know what it is. You're not just looking at a number on a tool. I mean, and I think that's what's happening, is we don't have enough asking the questions to understand what are the pieces of equipment that we're using. You know, we all hope to find something paranormal. We all hope to have that, you know, holy grail picture or holy grail video, but we owe it to ourselves in the community to go in there and pull out what's normal first and then see what we're left with. And not a lot of teams are doing that. They're going in assuming there is something there, and that's what they're convincing the client of. And then you feel like you need to provoke and bless the house. Let's make it worse for the next team that has to come in and clean up your mess, okay? Make it worse for the client who has to live there. We leave. They still have to live there with that. So, I mean, you're doing them a disservice.
I mean, that poor woman says she had to leave in her house and go drive around because she couldn't stay there.
Yeah. And then she couldn't sleep because wasn't her boyfriend worked nights or something like that?
Yeah, she couldn't do anything until he came home from work.
So, I mean, guys, this is a client. This is somebody that is living in that home and dealing with this. So you don't want to just go in and be, okay, come show yourself, provoke it, bless it, thinking you're doing some good and leave, because you actually just made it worse. If you can't handle it, if you don't know what you're doing, if you're not responsible enough for it, don't go. Send another team. It's just that easy. Steps that we've gone through the last 6 or 7 weeks, and do your job right. It's not that hard. And it's okay. I don't know how many times we see this, Shannon. It's okay to say that you don't know. It's okay to go look. We don't know it all. We do need to be researching for it. We do need to be going out there and educating ourselves. We don't know it all.
Yep. And, you know, somebody brought up a really good point yesterday or day before yesterday. You know, if you go into a home and you notice weird things, I mean, the pipes may sound funny, you notice the high EMF, advise the homeowner to invest their money and get a home inspector in, because that home inspector is going to be able to look at several different areas. You know, we don't work in the construction fields, where Dave and I don't, you know, so we don't know plumbing. We don't know, you know, what your traps in your basement may be backing up because of whatever to do with your pipes, and that's the sulfur smell you're smelling. And, you know, have somebody knowledgeable come check your house out. I mean, it's what, a couple of $100 to have a home inspector come out, I think.
And it's worth it. It's absolutely worth it. Candy says they know about it. You know, Yeti mentioned in here, and God, I totally forgot about this story. The team in Oklahoma that spreads glitter all through their clients' houses, telling them that the glitter confuses spirits. So can you imagine leaving your house and coming back and it looks like a stripper got beat up in your house? Really? Glitter? I mean, come on. I don't get
Her
it.
belly exploded.
Oh,
and if you've
God.
ever tried to vacuum up glitter, that stuff will be in that house for forever.
And anybody who has a little girl knows what it's like when they spill glitter on the floor.
You know what? That's why Paisley has tile in her room and a broom. But I just
that actually does that.
Yeah. I totally remember that story. How long ago was that, Yeti?
That was like 6 or 8 months ago, and we were talking to the lady. There's a lady that was doing a convention in Oklahoma, but she also did a magazine. And
I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah, and she said they had interviewed this group. They talked to them, and the group actually said when they went in the house that the glitter, the sparkling of the glitter, confuses spirits and will keep them outside their house. And they would tell their clients this.
You know, I've heard some pretty strange things, and I've had people make fun of me for doing crystals, but they can all suck it now after that.
That is unreal.
This is unbelievable. I tell you what, if a team came in my house and started telling me about glitter, I'd be like, you know what, get your ass over here and pick all this shit up before you leave, and then get out of my house.
Can I pop in 2 things real quick?
Absolutely.
I know you guys are talking about EMF, and yes, Shannon, it is a very serious deal, and I know there's been studies that come out that say the whole fear cage effect doesn't happen. I have a whole lot of trouble with that because I've been around one too many times to know that does happen. But the thing I wanted to bring up too is, especially for the people investigating in areas with basements, black mold and any other kind of environmental airborne stuff is very, very important. Even if it's something as small as like having like that old spray-on stuff they used to put on pipes, not asbestos, but they had like a cotton spray-on stuff that they use for insulation. Even that stuff can get mold inside of it, and people need to be very, very well aware that the environmental contaminants, just like the EMF that you were talking about, Shannon, those mold, being exposed to that mold full time is also subject to cause things.
Well, you know, we went and did a really old hotel back in May, and it had when it was originally built, the corner of it had included a bank, and the original bank vault was still there, and we're like, oh cool, bank vault, let's go in here. And Dave went and opened the door, and I mean the thing was black, covered in mold and are like, okay, shut the door, because I'm allergic to mold, you know, even regular mold. So black mold's kind of but I mean, yeah, I mean, you have got to watch for that stuff. And you know, you got these people, you find stuff like that, you've got people living there. How are they living with this stuff? You know, it's your responsibility to say, hey, you know, you got mold in the basement. You know, if that's all you do, that's, you know, that should be the least, you know. And then if you're familiar with what mold can do to you, then, you know, say, hey, this is, you know, if you've been having respiratory problems, this may be why. But, you know, if nothing else, say, we were down in the basement and we found mold. You need to know that.
Well, and Candy's bringing up in the chat room that tea tree oil kills household mold spores, and that if you're wearing masks, you can spray the mask with tea tree oil diluted on it as additional protection for when you're breathing it in. You know, I did probably my second year. Yeah, it was my second year as an investigator. I went with a group to an abandoned hospital here in the Dallas area. Very irresponsible group, because they had older people on this little ghost hunt. We met for dinner. We went over to the hospital and ghost hunted. And downstairs in the basement, the whole room was just lined with black mold. And we got out of there as soon as we could. But we thought, you're letting these older people down there you don't know, or maybe you do and you don't give a shit, that are down there with all this black mold going on. And it's just like, do you know what you're doing to everybody by allowing them to do that? It's just, I'm not surprised anymore by what some of these teams will do, just for the thrill of the event. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've, like I said, they've got no sense of responsibility, and the fact that, you know, they do have an obligation to their client. They just want to do what they do.
Go ahead.
They just want to do what, you know, what they see on TV. They don't care. And Dave and I do this because, you know, we care. We care if there is actual paranormal activity going on. We care if there's not, and, you know, there's real world problems that are causing serious issues for these people.
Well, we found out this team was illegally getting into this hospital, and they were paying the security guard under the table, because I contacted the owner to tell the owner what was going on, and the owner had no clue about it. So it became a huge thing here, because it was like, not only are these people doing this every Saturday night, but we had to pay $25 to go into this hospital, and you've got black mold in there. And none of the lights, there were lights on I think 2 of the floors, and we had to have flashlights in the other, and we have these older people in there, these senior citizens, going up and down these stairs that could have got hurt at any time. None of us signed any waivers. So who was going to get sued? It wasn't going to be the team that was doing the investigation. It was going to be the owner of the property that didn't even know these people were on his property. And when I talked to him, he said he'd already been through several security companies, because this same team was paying the security guards under the table to let them in. So talk about irresponsible. Candy saying soon enough the government's going to regulate us.
They think they can make some money off of it, they will.
Well, you know what? How big has the paranormal gotten the last couple of years with all the shows? You know, like you mentioned earlier, it's no longer taboo. Got people having issues with the video. If you guys will just refresh it, internet connection right now, because we're broadcasting okay, so try refreshing. I've had 2 people in the chat room say they've had issues.
Yeah, I refreshed and mine hasn't frozen again.
Yeah, usually that's what it is. It's just a refresh. So what else can we kind of go over on EMF? You know, I don't want to get too much into the paranormal side of it, because I want people to be thinking about it and understand, you know, it is a real thing. It's not something that we just start shouting and, hey, it's EMF. No, it's something that's pretty serious.
The thing I would want to say is, you know, if you're having issues in your house, if you're having eye problems, if you're having anything unexplained, you know, I know getting on and Googling, you know, you're sitting there looking and you're, oh my God, I'm going to be dead in 10 minutes because all of this is wrong with me. But look stuff up. Make a list of what you've been experiencing, see if it correlates, and call your doctor and say, hey, you know, they can see if that's what the problem is, or if it's, you know, something completely different. Most everybody these days knows somebody that's a ghost hunter.
Yep.
Bell meters, tri-field meters, K2 meters, we're a dime a dozen right now. Borrow one from somebody and check your house. You know, it's, you don't need one. You know, they've got EMF meters out there that they use in the industrial world that cost several $1,000s. You don't need one like that. You know, $50, $60, $70, you know, you can get one if you don't know anybody that has one, and just keep it around your house. When you decide you're going to go buy that used, you know, TV off Craigslist and you come in and plug it in, see what it's doing. You decide you're going to go get that old freezer that, you know, somebody decided they didn't want to hide dead bodies in anymore, and you want to put your deer meat in it, see what it's doing.
Or, you know, like your example earlier of what happened with one of your clients is the baby wipes warmer.
Yeah. And, you know, that's something that's new. That wasn't, you know, their baby was, what, less than a year old. So, and, you know, they... You know, it wasn't an antique wipe warmer. You
know, where were those things?
You know,
for another. Yeah, read your manuals. Read your manuals on your stuff.
How bad are you going to feel if you find out, you know, you've let your baby sleep in a room with this stuff?
I'm just curious here. I just want to look at something here. Talk measuring of EMF. So, 5 primary sources of dangerous EMF, which some of this we've kind of gone through. Electric fields, anything that has voltage, basically anything electric, such as lamps, electrical wiring, outlets, extension cords, electrical appliance, power outlets. We've talked about all that. Electric fields can affect the electrical communication in your body, such as your brain waves, or the ability of your neurons to fire and communicate. Okay, we've kind of touched on that. Magnetic fields. The EPA has labeled magnetic fields a class 3 carcinogen. These fields can occur when there's an imbalance in the electrical wiring and around electrical motors, such as the motor in your refrigerator. So there's the fridge. Power lines, whether above or underground, like my friend was having to measure them because they were above ground near her home. Metal plumbing. Yes, older metal plumbing can frequently carry a current. That's something to think about. Wireless communications. We've kind of talked about that. It's talking about smart meters, cell phones, cell towers, wireless routers, cordless phones. We kind of knew about cell phones and cordless phones. So that's something to kind of take a look at as well. It's kind of it on this list. It's talking about how to decrease EMF exposure while sleeping, kind of our typical stuff about unplugging things, the battery operated alarm clock. This says sleep with your head away from the wall facing the center of the room, even if it means lying with your head facing the headboard end of your bed. So just different things that you can do to limit it. I was trying to find just a chart maybe that would give us an idea of what EMFs are of, you know, just common household appliances. And of course, you know, when you Google stuff, it brings up everything. Let's see.
I haven't ever seen one.
Yeah, I was curious because I don't remember when Allison was borrowing my meter ever coming across one, and she hadn't either. Okay, here's something. It's a PDF. Let me see if I can bring it up a little bit more. All right, so a fluorescent desk lamp, at 1 inch away, it will measure anywhere from 400 to 4,000 mg. At 3 feet away, it'll be a 0.2 to a 2.1. So this is kind of good to know. A television, 1 inch away, 25 to 500. 3 feet away, less than 0.1 to 1.5. Blenders, 1 inch away, 200 to 1200. 3 feet away, 0.3 to 1.1. Coffee makers are on here, toasters, drills, saber and circular saws, irons, your washer, your dryer, fluorescent light fixtures. A hair dryer is on here. And then it talks about distribution lines for electricity and the transmission lines and what they run. Electric blanket, a microwave, and an electric range. So this is all in a PDF. Let me, for you guys in the chat room, if you want to see this, let me copy this link just so you can kind of take a look at it. Yeah, and those are while running. But, you know, you've got some stuff, you know, you may still have it going on. You may have that desk lamp on, and you may have that TV on. Your hair dryer and stuff like that's only going to be when they're on. But, I mean, these are things to think about, that we're blow drying our hair with that blow dryer. We're folding clothes while the washer and dryer is going, that type of thing. But that'll actually give you guys kind of an idea of what we're looking at. And this is a pretty nice little PDF talking about all this. So, I mean, there is information out there if you guys are curious. You know, you're walking around your house and you're measuring stuff. You know, this is kind of something to help you out there. It's better to have more information than not enough.
How much is a baseline millimeter now? I can't remember. I know the one we've got's got the temperature probe in it. But
yeah, I think you've got the same one I do, because I don't have the newest one. I have just the regular millimeter. Let's see. Because I know the newest one that's got all the bells and whistles, well, I'm looking at it right now, it's $239. Just a basic one, let's see. Because I think I only paid like $100 for mine. Ghost Stop, which tends to be kind of pricey, but it's the first one I could get to. The millimeter SDD, which I think is the lowest model. They have a K2 millimeter hybrid.
Ours is the 8704R.
That's what I have, and I don't see them. They're not listed by that anymore. Let's see. This one.
It's 105.
This one is an 8704R-SDD, and it is running on Ghost Stop for, where'd the price go? $188. Or you can get a K2 for about $60. K2 is not going to give you a digital reading, though.
If you go straight to the Galka's website, the one that I've got, the 8704R, which is just the EMF, the temperature, and the flashlight, it's $105.
Yeah, that's about what I paid for mine. I think mine was about $100 before shipping and all that. So, I mean, to pay $100 to have something with you for the lifetime that you're in your home, you know, if you ever have any questions about what your EMF is or you just want to check it, I don't think that's a whole lot to spend.
No. I honestly would not recommend, you know, using the K2 for that, since it doesn't give you a digital readout. You know, it only gives you a very broad range of numbers. It's not going to be specific enough. It's just going to tell you, oh, it lit up to, you know, red, or it lit up to orange, or it lit up to an actual EMF meter with a digital readout. And it doesn't have to be a millimeter. I mean, they make EMF detectors that, here's one for $40. You know, just and it's an audible EMF detector. You know, $40. And it's on the same website. It's on Galka's website. So it's, I can't read what it is, but, you know, $40. Go get you one.
Yeah, simple, real easy. We got about 7 minutes left in the show. You guys, I have put some links out there. I will go and post these elsewhere if you want to look at them. I can put them on the DNS Facebook page if you guys want to do that. But I think one other thing that I might do, and Candy, it might be something for our education tab that's going up, is maybe we put it out there or on the resource, maybe the resource tab for people to have the EMF. Maybe that's probably a better place for it. So let me make a note on my long to-do list to add that out there, because that would be something for people to kind of check. EMF links. Okay, so we got a few minutes left, so let's just go ahead and wrap it up, because we got Focus coming up next. Shannon, thanks for helping out and kind of talking to us about EMF. I know it's close to your bedtime. the time difference just cracks me up between us because I'm like, really, what time is it there? Oh yeah, but you have to be at work way earlier than I do.
Yeah,
so,
I get up at 4 in the morning. You don't.
I know. Right now I'm sleeping in till about 6 or 6:30, but once school starts, I'll be getting back up at 5:30. So I'm kind of enjoying having that lax of not having to have. Well, I have Paisley every other week, but I don't have to have her to summer camp till before 9. So I kind of slack there. Where school, she has to be there at 7:30. So I'm enjoying sleeping a little later.
What are we talking about? Focus.
Focus, I think we're going to be wrapping up Ancient Mysteries a little bit, wrapping up your department, and starting to talk a little bit about cryptids. So, we kind of got everybody's attention on Ancient Mysteries this last month. Or what are we going to call this something new? Did we decide we're calling it something new?
I don't think we've figured out what we talked about changing it, but we haven't put our heads together. We need to do that.
Yeah, we do.
Now that they're only 50 years, some of them are only 50 years old, it's not so ancient.
Yeah. But, we definitely got a lot of interaction on those. And I think we'll get a lot of interaction. I know Nicole started this week with some of the cryptids. So changing the name of Ancient Mysteries, Candy's catching up in the chat room. I know we'll get a lot of interaction with cryptids. And I would like to see a lot more on cryptids and some of the other paranormal departments. We talk about ghosts and hauntings all the time. No offense, Jason, but come on, NPS covers so much more. I'm a ghost hunter. I don't mind talking about it, but I sure would like to see some of these other departments come up and pique our interest. Department of Mysteries.
That's right, because we were doing a take on the whole Hogwarts thing.
Yeah, so we need to go ahead.
Defense Against Dark Arts.
Wave our wands. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get wrapped up. Shannon, I'll let you get off and go to bed. Thanks for coming on. If you think of anything else you think we need to cover, like you did with this, let me know because we'll definitely cover it.
Shannon, don't go nowhere.
Okay.
Hold on a second.
So let's go ahead. Let's give a shout out to our sponsors, and then we'll wrap it up, and we'll be ready to go into focus. Eric, you ready?
I was born ready.
Well, before we even get to my first sponsor, you guys need to go visit Metaluna Boutique. You guys aren't online anymore, but you can at least check them out. They are on Facebook. You guys still Facebook?
Yep.
Okay, you guys check them out on Facebook. So we want to give a shout out to them. We'll say a huge thank you to Jeremy at Paranologies. I've so got to get a new TriCam. I keep talking about that. We want to give a shout out to Scott Frederick for letting us use his images and his pictures and his graphics that are so awesome. We want to give a shout out to Blessed Bee, your one-stop occult shop online. And we want to give a shout out to Front Range Ghost Shop. If you guys need an EMF meter, go talk to Art over there. Next week on the show, kind of up in the air. I don't know if we're going to go over the investigation from this past weekend that we had. We had some interaction out at the cemetery. Shannon, you might actually like that because I know you haven't had much interaction, but we've been out to the cemetery 3 weeks in a row now. And we actually put to the test the flashlight trick. So we kind of had fun. We kind of had fun with that little experiment. We hadn't done it in a long, long time. So we decided, what the heck, let's have a little bit of fun with it. So I don't know if we're going to show that. I'll decide this weekend. Eric, I'm going to tell you when we get offline. I think I know which one I'm going to go. Or if we're going to be talking about crystals next week. So we'll do one or the other. And if you guys have any... Do what?
A vote cemetery.
Yeah, we might actually... I got to get the footage from Jason and go through it and see how much we have. I want to make sure I've got enough before I dedicate a whole hour to it. If not, I want to get some more footage from the cemetery because, that place, it's crazy active. It's an old cemetery, so that's why it's so active. So we'll see. You guys will know in the newsletter that comes out on Saturday, and you'll see it coming up on PIN as well. So I will see you guys shortly for NPS Focus. You guys are staying on. Otherwise, I will see you guys next week. Thanks again, Shannon.
Bye.
Everybody, welcome to DNS Live. We've actually got a show tonight instead of going through investigation techniques. So I hope you guys enjoyed the couple of weeks that we did that. I hope you've checked out the show archives, gone back, taken some notes, taken a look at the NPS website, taken a peek at some of the stuff that's there. Hopped over to the DNS website, taken a peek at the documents that are there as well. I'm actually wrapping up this week a lot of documents we're going to be kind of throwing up on the NPS website when Endeavor launches, so you guys will see a lot of stuff. We had talked about last week going over EMF, because not a lot of people understand what EMF is. So I thought, rather than going straight into investigations, I know you guys, it sucks, doesn't it? You don't get to see us do anything yet. I thought instead of going into the investigations, we'd spend tonight talking about EMF. I've got Shannon on with me, who is my alternate assistant director from NPS. And we're going to talk about EMF. But, you know, guys, if you think about something else that we need to cover that may come up during an investigation that you don't understand, we didn't clarify on, or it's just something general, let me know. We can kind of address it on the show. I was thinking about even having somebody on that is a Reiki master, and Shannon, you'll love this, to talk to us about crystals and healing as well, since I'm kind of gotten into it, and having my crystals with me when I investigate, and I know there's a lot of other investigators that believe in them too. So I thought maybe we would take a show and talk about that as well. So I'm very, very open. Yes. You know what? We could spend a month talking about ethics. But I think it's important for us to talk about these topics as we're investigating and understand them. We didn't get to touch on a whole lot when we were going through the process because we were focused on the process. So we can spend time now on the reverse and talk about it. And then if there's things like, if we talk about EMF tonight, there might be an investigation that we go on soon that I kind of show you some stuff that we talk about. So not only are you hearing about it and learning about it, but you're seeing it as well. So if that helps you guys, I'm more than happy to do that too. So Shannon, you want to kind of kick off and tell everybody what we all should know, but kind of what EMF is? We'll kind of dumb it down a little bit tonight.
Well, no, I was going to let you do that part because I was going to talk about the bad part.
You know, I told Shannon, you know, I know what it is, and I can pretty well verse myself over it, but I don't understand it as it applies to the real world, if that makes sense. So I kind of had to do some studying on it today of how it applied to the real world. And so I did, and you guys know me in my research, I did just a little bit of printing out from one website. And guys, if you didn't remember me telling you about this website right here, this is where you need to be. This is probably the best website for anything because it's in the UK, and I swear the people in the UK kind of give a shit more than we do over here in the US about research and the paranormal. So with that said, let's talk about EMF. You know what, I meant to bring my millimeter up here to show it, so we'd have some examples of stuff.
I'll go get mine.
Let's say you may have yours close by. Is your video frozen? Is that what you're...
Yeah.
It'll probably be that way.
It's like really funny too.
It's live TV. That's what we deal with. It's probably Skype. It'll kick in here in a little bit. You'll probably see it coming up. What I pulled from the Association for Scientific Study of Anomalous Phenomena, which is ASSAP.ac.uk for you guys that want to look it up on the internet. They have an actual article there that you guys should look up. I printed it to have it, called Ghost Baselines and EMF Meters. And it actually goes through, it's about 5 pages that I printed out that goes through talking about EMF and ghost and baselines. And then from that, there were hyperlinks to talk about EMF meters. What is an EMF meter? Talks about what they measure, because it's real. Anybody can buy a millimeter, and anybody can buy the fancy one like Zach has on Ghost Adventures that goes off and makes sounds and has the bells and whistles. But do you really know what it is and what it does and what it's actually used for? Because, you know, it's kind of used for more than just ghost hunting. And that's kind of the thing we're going to kind of talk about tonight. This article had a link to baselines. There was even something really interesting, and Shannon, I mean, we could probably go talk about this on another show, but it was talking about another 5-page article about what do we really know about ghosts. There's the millimeter. You guys can see the mel. That's kind of one of the tools that we're going to talk about tonight. The other one is the doorstop called the K2. It's completely different from a mel. You either want a mel or a tri-field is what you want. But there's a lot of great information out there on ASSAP, so you guys check that out. You can do it tonight while we're talking, or you can check it out later or whenever you want. But if you don't get a chance to watch the show in its entirety, or if you just want to look up some more information, they've got plenty of it out there. So EMF, electronic magnetic field. Real easy, EMF. I'm trying to look if there was a definition in this that applies to the paranormal, if they just gave a general one. They just went general on this, saying that the meter detects changing electromagnetic fields. Most models only detect changing magnetic fields, but some can measure varying electric fields too. So let's kind of dive on in, Shannon, and get started on it.
Well, okay. What I wanted to talk about was real world EMF, not so much spirit EMF.
Well, and I want to understand the real world to even understand why do we even talk about it in the spiritual world, you know?
Well, when any investigator goes into a house, you know, after you've done the client interview, after you've got all your forms signed, one of the first things you want to do is get a baseline in that house of what's throwing off EMF. Because we as investigators, most of us believe that the EMF is going to go off if there's a ghost in the house, or trying to talk to us, or trying to touch us, or trying to get our attention. What a lot of people don't realize is how much EMF normal household appliances can throw off, and what that can do to somebody living in that house. Mm-hmm. For example, we went to a house last month and started doing his baseline. That house was crazy. They had an old refrigerator that was throwing off.
Hold on, Shannon, we lost your sound. Say something, Shannon. Shannon. Can you still hear me, Sheri?
You? Talk about ghosts in the machine.
Yeah, that was some bad feedback.
There we go. We got it back.
They don't want us talking about them.
It happens. So they had an old refrigerator.
They actually had more than one. Between their refrigerator, a fish tank, bad wiring in the house. They had one room where the meter box on the outside of the house was bleeding through into one of the kids' bedrooms.
Oh my
God. And it pegged the millimeter out at 200. They also had an old TV. And what people don't realize is, I'm one of those people, I have EMF hypersensitivity. I don't have it as bad as some people, but I do have it. I go down to the state archives and I go in their computer